guys, for anyone that's been asking about advanced foot reflexology when you take it with ASR, there are a couple of principles that I just wanted to share with you guys about how the reflexes can actually expand beyond the foundation map that you learned, so that when you really understand these 2 feet together as a whole body, you've got a different way of operating with how the reflexes can actually extend beyond what you know in your original chart. So what I wanted to start with is, for advanced reflexology, reflexes can go through the foot. So if you learn that all the organs from the chest and breast area, the upper abdomen, lower abdomen, and pelvis, if you learned all of those are on the bottom of the foot, what we learn in advanced reflexology is that they are also on the top of the foot. So the exact same things that you find below, you will also find on top, and vice versa. So for example, if heart and lungs are on the bottom of the foot as reflexes, and particularly if they are affected, if they're imbalanced, if there's something happening problematic in the body, say with the heart, then this area might be tender and the top might also be tender. So they are both the heart reflex. So reflexes can radiate through the foot to the other side, and by the opposite token, the chest and breast reflex, say someone has cyst in the breast or breast cancer, and this is very tender, it can also be very tender on the ball of the foot. That can radiate through to the other side. So remember that they can go through the foot to the other side, top to bottom, bottom to top. That's one of our things that we learn in advanced reflexology. The other thing that we learn is that reflexes can actually go beyond their boundaries. So for example, if you're someone who works thyroid and parathyroid along the edge of the ball of the foot, between zones 1 and 2 like this, or under zone 1 and ending between zones 1 and 2, then you'll find that when the thyroid and parathyroid reflex is imbalanced, it may actually spread the imbalance response so that all of this area could be tender. Okay, so it could actually look as though the reflex itself, the boundaries radiate beyond a larger, beyond the lines of where that original reflex lines would be on a chart, for example. So reflexes can radiate and they can spread the tenderness around where that original reflex is, a little bit further beyond the boundaries. And then finally, a cool thing that I want to actually show you is that reflexes can lead from a reflex area, and they can actually lead in these little lines that go up the legs. And now I do responsive bodywork and responsive reflexology, which means I can feel energy, I can see energy. And this is something that just evolved over my career of 30 years. And that as I was working on particular reflexes on the inside of the foot medially, let's say in this case, maybe it'd be one of the reproductive reflexes. So it could be, vagina, uterus area, for example. And this would be the area on the side of the heel with the particular reflex being right here. But in the case where people had cervical cancer, like some pretty serious imbalances, cysts on the ovaries, or not the ovaries, on the uterus. So for example, people that had pretty big imbalance, then this might radiate up the leg. And I would actually feel that like a strong magnet pulling me upwards. And it would lead to these little points that I would call cluster points, where it kind of stops. So it's pulling me up, pulling me up, pulling me up, and then it kind of stops. Now, if you're someone who wants to take advanced reflexology, but you don't think you can sense things within the body, if you don't have like that high sense or that kinesthetic connection where you can feel energy, it's totally fine, because once you know where the advanced reflexes can occur, you can feel for them, and your client can feedback whether something's tender. Okay, so from anything in here, let's say medial hip, for example, if I'm working medial hip area around that medial malleolus, and let's see if that's tender. How's that feeling in through there?
That is tender.
That's tender. Okay, and then if I just happen to follow it as we go up, are we still experiencing some tenderness?
Right there.
Okay, and actually that's simultaneously just happens to be where I feel my finger also stopping. So it feels like it's kind of pulling me, pulling me, pulling me, and right here is where it stops. That's one of the little points that I would stop and work on. And working on it doesn't mean putting a lot of pressure. It actually could be very soft. I can just lightly touch that. I can ease off on the pressure and intend for that tissue to just melt or spread under my finger. And when it does, it will let me go. And I could even find another one. So several of these reflex points may lead up the leg to several little points, which I just call clusters, and you can stop and work on them. Either you feel them yourself, because we become more sensitive to sensing the reflexes with our hands, especially when they're congested, or our client tells us where these tender areas are as you're palpating, and you can stop and work on them that way. So this is kind of a unique thing that I've discovered over many years, and I really think it's quite effective to work on, and it's something we really enjoy discovering in class together, and I hope you join us for Advanced Reflexology.